Going on a spa date or a solo date in an expensive restaurant, investing in a multi-step skincare, body care and hair care routine. As per social media, this is what self-love looks like, which might leave you wondering, what if I don't have money? Does it mean that I cannot love myself? And yes, if you spend all your paycheck on bills and have nothing left for you to spend on yourself or on things that would be considered frivolous, that is not having money. Unfortunately, the way we live our lives is always being dictated by some sort of institution, like family, religion, and in the case of self-care and self-love, capitalism. My moment of reckoning was when I was in France. I was hustling like many other immigrants do, but somehow that wasn't enough effort for some people who were back home and had actually never left the country. They told me that I was a failed investment because I was failing at being the perfect immigrant who sacrifices her life to make the life of other people better. I was even close to being homeless several times, but all they cared about is that I was a failed investment. This woke me up from the deep slumber of people-pleasing I was in. They didn't even see me as a human being, only a tool to line their pockets. And in that moment I knew I had to learn to teach people that I was a human being, because people will treat you how you allow them to. This was the first lesson in self-love. Moving back home was a step in being human. Ever since I was a child, I was always aiming for the stars and achieving the stars, but they don't tell you how this has a huge toll on you. At some point you'll have to take a break, either voluntarily or you're going to be forced by your body, by your mental health. And this actually reminds me that very recently when I told someone that I was taking a break from life because they didn't like that I am back in the village, they said that young people shouldn't get tired. And this is actually the mindset I was fed all my life, and it led me to battle a severe burnout at 25. Society doesn't teach us this, but it's a lesson I've learned the hard way, which is practice to treat yourself as a human being, and that includes creating boundaries. You have to learn to say no, but not just that, you have to learn when to say no and when to say yes. Because if you're like me, who was taught to say yes to other people and no to myself, it means you have to learn to trust yourself, to identify what is good for you, and then you'll arrive at saying yes and no when you need to. I have now learned to create rules for how I should allow to be treated, but also how I treat myself and others. I no longer put others before myself, because for me to healthily show up for others, I have to be a healthy place myself. One of my major rules is to not get into conversation with people who insist on seeing things from their own point of view while disregarding everyone else's. If you cannot acknowledge that other people can have different views from you and respect that, you have no place in my life. In fact, when I receive comments that try to disregard my own experiences and point of view just because it doesn't fit into their worldview, I don't waste my time going back and forth with them. I think social media has tricked many people to think that their unsolicited opinions are constructive criticisms. But darling, someone who has constructed nothing cannot criticize. I also have 2 degrees in communication. I definitely know when people are sharing their opinions, when they are disagreeing respectfully, and when they are being crass and below the belt for no reason. Actually, now that I think about it, about 99% of hateful comments I get are from men, and my curiosity will definitely lead me to creating a video essay on this. I have come to realize that self-love is also not allowing people to explain to you your field of expertise. This is something I experienced in my male-dominated family. It's called mansplaining. I've had someone who has never touched a camera try to explain camera lenses to me when I have not only worked with these cameras but also produced films. When I speak about my experiences in France, someone who has never left the country is quick to disregard my experiences because apparently the friends they have in Australia or in the US or in Germany have a different story. They send them pictures looking happy, and suddenly that is enough proof to show that life abroad is this paradise they want to believe in, which of course is not the reality for many. It's why I don't speak about life abroad to such people. You can go there yourself and you'll know the meaning of experience is the best teacher. In addition, I deeply believe that speaking up is a form of self-love. I have always been outspoken, and looking back, it has helped me go through life a little smoothly even when faced with storms. Because at least for me, I never look at myself and wish that I had not allowed someone at work to steal my ideas or belittle me. We're never really taught to use our voices for anything because it is dubbed as disrespectful, especially as women. But when you keep it all in, when you see injustice happening, it's bound to cause you a lot of emotional and psychological stress, and this can actually morph into disease. It is not a coincidence that a huge number of patients with autoimmune diseases are women. It is not a coincidence that as the world becomes tougher to live in, especially financially, more women are getting diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, and many other menstrual disorders. Reading extensively about this is what has really inspired me to live my life as I was designed to as a woman, by respecting my menstrual cycle, and it has been one of the best decisions for me. Furthermore, one way of showing love to yourself is by using your time for yourself. And this is where the social media girlies would tell you about solo dates and spas, but even if you cannot afford that, you still need to allocate time where you review your goals and how you're living. You have to be able to look at your life from a bird's eye to identify the areas that are not allowing you to be your best self. I did this recently and I realized I was holding myself back by not exercising. I was getting tired much faster and very sluggish, which I didn't like, but I also had a lot of excuses. I can't run in the village because there are many weirdos. The village weather is so unpredictable, which affects working out. It's too hot to exercise during the day because I don't like exercising in the morning or evening. These excuses were convincing for very many months, but when I had a chat with myself recently, I had to find a solution. I did, and so far I am proud of that decision because I feel much better already and I have more energy and essence to pour into my work. I started watching this series called Deceitful Love. It's an Italian series. I just couldn't go past episode 2 because I found the story to be so sad. It's a story about a woman who, I think she's in her 60s. She has her entire family. She got divorced from her husband and she finds herself falling in love with a younger man. I think he's in his 30s, early 30s, but turns out he's a scam artist who is targeting old rich women. One of the statements that this woman says in this series that I find it to be so hard is, as a woman you can never really make your own choice because there's someone who's always telling you what to do. First it was her father, then it was her husband. Now in her old age it's her sons interfering with her life, are telling her, oh, you cannot get involved with this man. Obviously you can say they care for her because he's a scam artist and all that, but one of her sons is married to a woman but he's actually gay. You don't understand what you're trying to tell your mother. You're not even confident to be who you are. And you can clearly tell that their mother is very aware that this man is a scam artist, but she just doesn't want to believe it because she feels like she's experiencing something she thought she would probably never experience, you know, like true love, except for this is a scam artist. And this is one of the reasons why I think self-love is something that everyone should be taught from a young age, and especially when it comes to this idea of romantic relationships, because a lot of women are not taught self-love. You find a lot of women just hanging on to toxic relationships because they've convinced themselves in their heads that this is good for them. Even when they can see red flags, most of the times a lot of women will ignore them because they're like, but this is the only person that truly sees me. I find this title, Deceitful Love, very deceiving because if it's deceitful, it's nothing to do with love. And this is something that we're actually taught to overlook. Most times you're told that, oh, you could be in a relationship, then he starts cheating on you, but that's just the nature of men. Reality of the matter is, if you're ever in a relationship with someone, whether it's man or a woman, and they cheat on you, they don't love you. And they don't love you because they don't know what love is, because they don't love themselves. Someone that loves themselves is not going to make a commitment to be in a relationship with one person and then go behind their back and cheat on them. I don't understand why this is even a discussion of, oh, should people cheat in a relationship? If you're cheating, you shouldn't be in any relationship, first of all, because you don't even know who you are. This morning someone was watching a clip about Elon Musk introducing something about robots, and I remember just being so flabbergastedly fascinated that I just couldn't believe it. I just burst out into a laugh. It was a group of robots dancing. They were having some sort of a dance concert. So the music is playing in the background, sung by a real human being, but the entertainment is robots dancing. And they also showed a scene where a robot was serving people, was giving people gifts, was having them. And it's, you know, the thing is, right now with a lot of people talking about artificial intelligence and all this robotics and all that, I find it extremely fascinating because the way a lot of these rich people are talking about they want to replace humanity with AI, or a huge number of the workforce with robots and AI, is just bewildering. At the end of the day, they want to use these tools to cut costs, but they want to sell their products to human beings. You want to remove human beings from the workforce, but you also want these human beings buy your product. Where are they getting the money? And I think this is one of those examples of when people get a lot of money but they don't know how to love themselves. Because there's no one who loves themselves that is going to actively try to destroy humanity or minimize the importance of a human life. Because a lot of people who study in these fields know nothing about emotional intelligence or empathy or sociology or psychology. All they care about is, technology advancing. But if technology is not good for the people, why are we even creating that? It doesn't make sense that AI is replacing art. You want to use AI to create art, but the target audience for this AI art is human beings. Is your head okay? It is okay to use artificial intelligence as tools to help human beings become efficient in their work. It makes sense to use these robots to do the work that a lot of human beings wouldn't want to do, so that human beings can focus on being creative. But what we're seeing is the complete opposite. They want these technology things to take over creativity. What is that going to leave human beings? Because the life force of every human being is creativity. But if that is taken away from you, if all opportunities are taken away from you and given to this AI and robots, what is going to be the purpose for human life? And this is why I deeply believe that the future is going to be deeply analog. A lot of people are actually going to move away from the internet and all that. A lot of people right now cannot even differentiate between social media and reality. A lot of people think that the photoshopped bodies that they see on social media are real, to a point where when people see a real human being, they attack the person because they don't know what natural looks like anymore. And eventually this is very dangerous, especially for younger children. I'm truly working in this internet and social media space. Something that's very interesting, because sometimes I wonder, is it that people become the worst on the internet, or is it that the internet is allowing people to show their true selves? This is why it's really important, if you have children, start teaching them self-love from a very young age. If you've never really been taught self-love, you need to invest your time, energy, resources into teaching yourself. Go beyond the superficial, dig deep. It's a lot of hard work, because you have to go into the parts of yourself that you've been running away from. But you really have to embrace yourself, because the world that we live in is absolutely nasty. And each and every moment that anyone will have, they will remind you of how you're failing at something.